Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of my new series, Canadian Case Study, where I talk to various Canadians about their personal finance scenario. Just an update to my course, Canadian Finance Pro. I'll be limiting it to 10 people per month only. Ever since I added the 1-hour chat with new members, I've been getting so many new members that I haven't really had time because I have a full-time job, I have the YouTube, and I'm a realtor. So going forward, it'll be limited to 10 members a month only. Let's get into the episode. Can you tell me your names, your age if you want to, and then what you do for work?
I am not concerned to say my age.
Just making sure. Some people, my last guest, he was doing an age reveal at 1 million subs, so he didn't want me to release his age, so I had to blank out his age.
Oh, that's real. Oh, he's a big deal.
Yeah,
if people care about your age like that, like you're doing a reveal, then that means you're a big deal.
Yeah, he's a big deal. Okay, cool. Let's go.
All right, so my name is Tiffany. I am 35 years old, and I am the co-founder of a marketing agency.
Wonderful. I'm Craig. I am 42 years old, and I am also the co-founder of a marketing agency. I'd say social media agency.
Okay.
But we do a little more.
We do a little more.
Do you want to get into what you actually do?
Okay, we moved to Montreal in 2012, and we started our agency in 2015. We both had full-time jobs. We both decided, F these jobs. Since we're both marketers, why don't we just quit what we're doing for someone else and then just make the money ourselves and put it into our business? And so we launched full-time in July 2015 because it was like a birthday gift to make sure to myself. That's what we said, like, we basically budgeted for 6 months. We decided in December 2014 officially, and then we said, let's give ourselves 6 months to save up because we started noticing that we could pull in enough from clients to cover a portion of living. And then the Apple shares, I guess, will come into play again. But we used that to start our agency in 2015. And then since then, we've been doing that. But we're also YouTubers. So we have a YouTube channel where we teach social media education. I won't plug it. It's called High Season Co. if you want to go subscribe. And then after that, the reason I said not social media marketing only, we also do like production, so digital production. So something similar to what we're doing right now, sitting and talking to you. We're usually the producers. So I like being on the backside, the back end. Pause. Not normally the front end, but you're my friend. So here we are for things like this.
I appreciate it.
And then we also provide consulting. We do training. Anything else I'm missing? Oh, ads, advertising. So that's like a paid social. Now. And we have digital educational products.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was great background. The crux of this video, the whole point of it, instead of going through your expenses and going through your income, I want to go through, let's say 10 years ago, going from a very bad credit score and very high in debt to fixing it, and the journey of, pretty much just learning the value of a dollar, finding out what interest rates mean, what credit card debt can do to you, and then fixing that. Are you able to go back, maybe not from the beginning, but when you started to realize it got bad? Or from the beginning, fine.
I was like, I've been realizing that it was bad. I just wasn't really like equipped or something to do anything about it.
So step one, I'll say, was OSAP, like your student loan.
Because I was like, how far back do we want to go? So yes, I have student loan debt. And then also in university, I had bought, so I'll talk about my personal experience with, I guess, money in that sense. But this damn York University. So what they do is they have these cute booths where you get the sweaters if you get a credit card. So like I remember like MBNA, what's that?
MBNA.
Yeah, I had the credit card, so I got that one. Then I had like a Scotiabank Visa, and then I think I had a TD card. So I had 3 credit cards by the time I was like 20. So that was a problem, really.
Because you spent all of it and you didn't pay it back?
Maxed all of those out. And like, I was like, what do you think is going to happen with the cards, I guess? But you use them, and then you just don't respect that they need to be paid back.
So I did ask this. So my first guest, he said the same thing. So he ended up buying like a car on his Visa.
I didn't go that nuts.
Right. But what did you think was going to happen? So they gave you like $2,000, let's say on 3 credit cards. Let's say you got $6,000 that you owed total.
Yeah.
You spent all the money. You bought some stuff.
And I bought, that's like every random thing, I guess, like you're clubbing, you're partying, anything that you're doing at that age group. And I will say, I did always think that paying the minimum payment was enough. So I remember I used to look at cards and be like, oh, $15. And then I would just put like the $15 on it. Yeah. And then maybe only pay it like closer to like full when it was like filled basically. So then it's like maybe I would put $200 at a time, but never paying it off in full before the next date.
Yes.
Okay. And it slowly started to snowball when? When you graduated?
Yeah, I would say when I graduated, because then I had that debt and the collection calls. It's kind of like maybe I've blacked out a lot of this, so I'm trying to go back because I think I literally actually blacked some of this out.
I didn't know about collection.
Because it's so, so I went to, I went to collections. I got scammed, so I will say that. So long story short, I got scammed where my credit card was used to try to get a car. So similar to your first guess there, except it was unsuccessful, but it was 9 attempts. So that brought my credit rating really down. Yeah.
That explains it.
I didn't even know how someone's able to do that without you. So that's like something I just never really understood. And I was too young to like really research. So then I got recommended to go to what's it called? Like a consolidation?
A debt consolidation?
Yeah. Okay. So I did something like that in Scarborough. And then I met with these people, and then they took all my debt and they put an amount on it and said like, okay, if you pay 250, something like that, it pays down. So I was doing that. And then after about a year, I found out that they actually were just taking the money and they weren't putting it anywhere. And it was like a huge fraud thing. It was like a big fraud thing that I just ended up being one of the customers too. So I only knew because then I started getting the collection calls. That's how I knew. I got a collection call, and then I was like, but I'm paying this. Then I went to go see them, and the place was closed down, and there wasn't anyone there anymore. So,
okay.
So basically moved to Montreal with a ton of debt. Thanks so much for staying with me. Moved to Montreal with a ton of debt under my name, and then OSAP was also need to get paid back. So it all kind of comes because it's like I moved within like 6 months of graduating or something. You get like a grace period. And
Yeah, so the payments for OSAP don't start until 6 months after you graduate, but the interest is still accruing on it. So it's not really a grace period or any leeway, which they don't tell you.
I do remember kind of seeing some language around that and just being like, I'm not paying. I was like, you said I don't have to pay? I'm not paying.
Yeah, so one issue, when you thought you were paying down $250 a month, you never got a statement to check that you were. You just assumed you were.
So I did get statements. But they were fake. They're falsified statements. So you did get something mailed to you always to let you know that thing. Oh, no. Yeah. You did get something. When I went to pay every time, because I paid for a while, they always gave you like a thing that showed like this is the debt consolidation and it goes down to it's getting paid to this.
Okay.
Did they go to court or something?
That's you know what? It's like I was so like now I'm so vindictive. Like this would be such a huge issue, but it's like I was so young and I was just like sad I got scammed and I just kind of like picked up and was like, then I think I had to call each credit card agency and do something differently, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't really be mad at you for getting scammed or like defrauded. Like it would happen to the best of us. So then on top of this, Craig, you also had some issues. Were you able to talk through yours?
So yeah, I actually came. So I'm from Australia. When I moved to Canada, I bought an apartment. So I sold that and had a chunk of money in the bank. Everything was pretty good. I'd had some issues at home with credit card, kind of let it ride a little too much. Like I got my LASIK surgery and just put it on a card and just on like a high interest card and kind of got screwed. So I was already probably not even though I managed to purchase a property, I still wasn't probably the best with credit cards. So everything was cool, but when we were working at the Apple store, we weren't making a ton of money, and I was trying to be proactive when I moved here. And I got a secured credit card to try and build my Canadian credit. I got a Rogers phone thing, so I was like, cool. And then when we moved to Montreal, became students, so there was no income. It was only whatever we saved from working at Apple and the remainder of my Aussie savings. And I just got to a point where sometimes I wasn't able to work legally for like 4 years. I was basically trapped. Like if I left,
that's a whole story.
Immigration's a nightmare.
We had two people living off of a job that was $17 an hour. I just want to point that out.
And I think you were making like $400 a week, and rent was like $975.
Oh yeah, that was when he got to the next place because I thought it was paying more, but it technically wasn't. Right. It was all the overtime, and I thought it was paying more, but it was literally I was just working more. No, the first job was 17. Right. And then I ended up going to a job that when you weren't working overtime, it was like $14 an hour. But anyways, yeah. So two people off of $14
and I couldn't work, and then we're in a new city. We were learning French, but even to get an under the table job was totally different to here. So I wasn't really able to bring in much. If I did get something, it was always chump change, and I just didn't make those payments on the credit card. And we didn't find out until end of 2019 how bad my credit score was when we applied for a business loan from the BDO. So then I went and fixed it, but I guess that's getting ahead of the story because Tiff did it first to fix hers. That was as she just explained how her thing got damaged in the first place.
Okay, so now we've kind of, your origin story, okay, both your origin stories, and now we're kind of melding. Yeah, so let's say 2018, 2019, and what happened, what changed? How did you fix it? Did you ever fix it?
Okay, so you yelled at me in 2015.
I didn't yell.
I believe. Because I don't like to tell you the finance things. Now I know, and I actually did tell you, but originally, like, you're so like on top of finance.
Can I pause?
Yes.
Can I pause for a second? I'm deep in everyone's finances. This is why I started this channel. I like asking about people about their finances. A lot of people will spend things they don't really understand. Or one of my friends had a BMW, and they said, hey, why don't you want to get a truck, and we'll meld both of your loans together and you can get this truck. But he ended up with more debt than the truck was worth, and he didn't really understand. So I'm deep in my friend's finances.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. So because you've always been the finance, you were taking accounting already in university at that point. Oh, beyond, you had already graduated and you were working at the firm. So it was more like shame to tell you. And then I think one day I actually just told you what was going on, and you were like, what the F are you doing? You need to get a secured visa, because if you get a secured visa, that'll help you with your credit. So then I just listened and I got the secured visa, and my credit turned around so fast. I was actually really shocked. So I did $1,200 or $1,500 on a secured visa, and in about 6 months, they had released the hold and said that I was good.
Yeah. So a secured visa is pretty much like a debit card. You prepay, let's say $1,500 worth, and they let you spend on it. And it's meant for new immigrants to Canada or students or people trying to fix their credit. So do you know what your credit score was before you had to do this?
I think I did look one time in Equifax, and it was 500 or something like that.
Okay, that's pretty bad.
I don't know if it was even in the 400s. I think I might have got to the 400s at some point.
Yours was worse.
It was really bad. It was really bad. Well, I had 3 credit cards where it's just I wasn't paying them. Then I had the OSAP, and then OSAP was calling me for collections because I wasn't paying the OSAP. And then so between those 4, that's 4 major debts that I had.
Do you remember the total amount?
I feel like it was somewhere around just under 5,000 in credit cards, I would say, because it's when I was young, so they didn't give me too much. I think it was I got up to 2,000 with the MBNA. I probably had 1,000 with TD, and then the Scotiabank one was something else like that. So I think it was 5,000, and then OSAP was 28,000. So yeah, she was 5 figures deep in debt.
Okay, so it's not that bad. 5,000 in credit card. If you assume it's 22% interest, that's $1,100 a year just in interest, which is bad. But I've seen worse.
Oh, we can get to later in the story because it's not the first version of the credit card debt.
That's the early.
That was the early debt.
That wasn't the one that you helped us fix or inspired us to fix.
Yeah,
that was the original one.
So the secured one, that was good because in the end, I think I got the secured visa and then paid all the collections on it. So that was done, and the secured visa helped. So it was in tandem. It was 3 things in tandem. One was committing to a payment to OSAP, so the monthly payment that I was going to do no matter what, and you can do that by sending in your not invoice. What's the opposite? What's the T4?
Pay stub.
Your pay stub. Yeah. So if you send your pay stub in and you say that you're under a threshold, then you get to be on a payment plan that's capped at something. So I think it was $180 every month I paid towards $28,000 in debt. And so $180, and then I paid the credit cards all down. I called them all and did what needed to be done there, and then got the secured visa. So that was the 2015 time.
And then we had our own other debt that we just sort of accrued on credit cards.
Yes.
That was your previous life. And then when we had our stuff,
we did joint debt.
Yeah, even though it was all under your name, it was still our debt.
Yeah.
Which that was what we just we let it ride, because when we got money, we had a business at that time. We started the business mid 2015. Mm-hmm. So whenever we got money, we were more inclined to save it. We're we're not going to pay the credit card. Don't worry about it. It's going to do us better if we saved it. Mm-hmm. And then it was when you texted Tiff and were what are you doing? And actually asked the questions. And then we were oh, no, it's actually going to serve us much better to pay them off completely. So as soon as we did that, and then Tiff fixed her credit, we were able to wipe those credit cards I can't remember how long it took, but we focused on it. It wasn't that long.
No. I went pretty ham on the payments. So that was the second round. So the reason we had so much credit card debt again, and it's like, again, this is the wrong mentality to take. So because our credit got better, so thank you, because the secured Visa like made my credit better, started getting the offers. And you did say whenever, and this is like a good thing, whenever you get credit offers, you should take them. So I was like, oh, okay, that means my credit's good. I should take the credit. I just would always, I still kept, and until we had that conversation on our balcony in our old apartment in 2020, I still had the thing where I never paid credit cards off in full, really. It's like I always made sure to pay the minimum. So like I would have like, I had a $10,000, we had one $10,000 card, one $19,000 card, and one $1,000 card, all maxed out in 2020.
Wow.
That's what I was like, that's the beginning. Yeah. So nine on the, I actually don't want to say I don't know if that's too much to say the companies or whatever. Okay, so 10 on the TD.
Okay.
TD personal. Then we had the Tangerine, and the Tangerine had 9 because they just sent me a mail one day and was like, hey, you're welcome, your thing for 9K. I was like, I will take that, sir. And then the other 1K for another TD card. So that was 20K in debt. But like being paid, but it's more like treading, because it's kind of like you're paying certain amounts. Sometimes you pay a little more, sometimes you don't, but never miss a minimum payment.
Right. So if you pay the minimum payments, it would take you like 90 years to repay everything, because the interest was 20% and they're only charging. So the minimum payments are meant to keep you locked in debt.
What's
it's not
the
meant
point?
to
I want to
help
ask you actually, like, what does the minimum payment represent? Like, what is the point of that?
It's like, how can they maximize you paying it down, but also trying to get the most amount of interest off of you? So it's not to help you. There's nothing there to help you.
Okay.
It's just, they're a profit. They're a for-profit, Visa, MasterCard. They're just there to make money, collect interest. Like, they make money off the fees and the interest. But I do want to go back a little bit. You mentioned when they offer you something, when they offer you a pre-approved credit increase. So I would always recommend to accept, because it's not a hit to your credit score. If you ask for an increase to your credit score, it's a hard inquiry, and it could affect your credit score by like 15 points for 2 years, which is not bad. But if you do it 2-3 times, like it could take you from like, 715 down to like below 700. So just as an example, if I was a landlord and if you had under 700, I wouldn't rent to you. It's just my personal opinion. I have the right to reject you for any reason. So 2-3 hard credit scores, credit inquiries, words are hard. And then it could decrease you for 2 years, and it might hurt you in ways you didn't know.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Under the 700 thing is something I didn't realize that's like, because I thought that was like pretty good.
No, so above 700 is good, but if you're under 700, something's wrong. If you're just making your payments and you don't miss anything, you should be at 800. So for you to go from 850 to 800 to 750 to 600s, you've missed payments, something's wrong. I'm not interested in leasing my place to you.
Yeah, that's fair. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then when you said like I yell at you at the balcony, it's just I asked you to calculate. So go through every credit card statement every month and calculate how much interest it is. And do you remember the amount?
I wish like, I should have like screenshot that conversation, but our texts go way too deep to even try to get there. I remember that like one of the cards alone was like $295 to like $300. I think he even just made me go through like, the last few, and we did it all in that session. Like I just was on my balcony working on something and we were just talking about it. And then it was like I remember one had like $295, another had like 200 or 300. And then like another one was like 100. So it was like somewhere in this like 600 to 700 and almost $800 type vibe. Cause I remember thinking, oh my gosh, it's like almost $1,000. Like I rounded all like up, and I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, it's like $1,000 in interest. And then I think I went to Craig and was like, oh my gosh, so this is how this is going down, and we're not paying attention really. And then we were in the middle of a campaign during COVID, and we got a large check for the campaign because it was like off what we expected. And then immediately I put the money down like evenly across each card. I think I paid off one card, the $1,000 card. It was just like, okay, let's just pay that off in full, and then split between the other two. And then it did help that it coincided with our business growing. So then every time we got money, we just went like so aggressively on the credit cards. Like we stopped saving and we just went like aggressively on the credit cards.
Yeah.
Right. Because like, just to bring back to the high interest point, a lot of people don't have an income problem. They have a spending problem. So for you to make the credit card worth it, you have to earn 22% after tax. So let's say you have to earn 40% interest or income, pay tax on it for you to break even just on that credit card. So if someone's like, hey, should I invest or should I pay off my debt? if your debt is above like 5%, pay it off because you probably can't earn enough after tax to make it worth it. So that's why I was so annoyed, and that's probably why I was so aggressive. Because if you have like the OSAP was like 6 or 7, not the end of the world because you could probably make more investing in your business. But the credit card being at 22, it would be hard to justify it.
Yes. You explained that to me. I thought that was really good because then you did ask me about the OSAP. And at the time, it was like 8.5. There's like it has some like market fluctuation thing as part of it. It's like prime. Oh, it's probably really high right now.
It's probably very high right now.
But you asked me to look at that, and then we looked at all the interest rates, and that was the thing. And like one was like 21, the other was 19, and then the other one I think was 19 too, or 18. So then you're like, it makes more sense to pay off the thing that cost you more to keep. So that's what we did. But super, super helpful.
Yeah.
And life-changing.
Yeah, I get it.
No, literally.
Literally life-changing. And I have to say, a big part, you're saying spending more, that people have expense problem. We took a lot of trips. We took a lot of trips.
Prior to 2020?
Yeah. Even though we had tourism boards paying for some of it, it's like they would cover hotels and flights, say, but then you pay for sometimes, depending on how the arrangement was. So we traveled a lot. You remember, we were around all the time. Yeah. And those small things always add up. And now I can, in my head, know when we take a trip how much it's going to cost, but you're not really thinking about it when you're...
We're not doing anything we can't afford anymore.
Yeah.
I think we've got to really, like, our credits, both of it, like mine was ruined from not paying the other thing, and then I did exactly what Tiff did in 2020. I think after that conversation with you, then I was like, we all gotta pay attention. No, there was that, but there was also, we applied for a BDO loan I mentioned earlier for the business of 100K just because our friend said to do it, and he had it and said it was helpful to help us grow. So we got declined because my credit was like 520 or something, and I was like, what do you mean? I had no idea. And then I got the secured credit. It took longer than yours to fix it though. I think it took like a year, and I only got it removed this year. They actually changed the secured card over, but then they offered me like a $15,000 card out of the blue, completely separate to that. I was like, we got this mortgage in 24 hours. They said it takes 2 weeks, but they approved it in 24 hours. We got the car loan like in seconds on the spot.
Yeah, we're like, all right, we'll wait around. She was like, it's approved. And we're like, oh.
Yeah.
So we're like, wow, this is like what good credit does. It really gets you through doors, like just much more efficiently.
Yeah, so credit can do two things. In the US, it's a little different. The higher your credit score, the lower your interest rate. But no. So here's the thing: in Canada, a good credit score doesn't mean lower interest rate. A bad credit score means you don't get the loan, but a good credit score just means you get the loan. It doesn't mean anything else. So a bad credit score is the most important thing in the world until you have a good one, and then it's kind of meaningless because it doesn't provide you any other benefits. So 750 to 850, it doesn't make a difference. It's just like an ego thing. It looks cool, but.
My barber was saying this exact thing to me today. About that. He's like, what's the point? Like, you're not even rewarded for having a good one. You're just punished for having a bad one.
Exactly.
But then it's so efficient when you have a good one. It's just like a barrier you don't need to go over it because, like you said, it's like...
Maybe the incentive enough is
it's like, I want it to be easy. Like you want to get a mortgage fast. You want to be able to get these things fast because you could lose something if you don't have it.
We had to get the bigger business card. We need a new bigger business credit card. So we had to apply for it, and that was... immediately as well, like on the phone. Like I never experienced anything like this before. Like everything just flying. So like
makes you feel like a real adult.
Yeah.
But also, it's also a function of you being like having a successful business and being like high net worth individuals. So that also opens doors.
That's
for the
fair.
most part.
Yeah.
The mortgage was different. That didn't help it. Actually,
our business was like an annoying
because if
thing.
you earn too much, if the difference between 1 year to the second year that they take is more than a certain amount, more than 20% more, then they discount the higher year. So that's what they did to us. Our business grew significantly over COVID, fortunately, and then they refused to count our 2021 income and only counted our 2020 income, which was a lot less. And we still got the mortgage, but it made us pay a higher deposit to meet is it TDS, those percentage?
Yeah. What is it? A debt to service ratio? Yeah.
So because then the percentages didn't match anymore when the income dropped, then we had to pay a higher deposit. So we were pretty annoyed.
Thank goodness we had the cash. Otherwise, I was like, that's how you get ruined. Like you would just...
So it's like even your good credit helps you get the mortgage, but then there's still other hurdles along the way, just as far as bureaucracy is concerned.
I feel like everything I mentioned to you guys in the in the process. Everything's kind of set up to make you fail. Your business did so well that they didn't count your income because it increased so much from the year before. If nobody caught that, what they were saying. So that's pretty frustrating.
Can I ask you a question on that? Do you think it's more beneficial to be a high income earner as a business owner, or to give yourself like an amount underneath a certain like tax bracket? Like, what's the benefit between the two? Like right now we are high income earners because it's like RSP room, which, you know, we don't really care that much about RSP room. Maybe some other benefits, I guess, whatever you could explain. That's what I need to understand. Like, could we just pay ourselves $40,000 a year because we actually fundamentally don't need that much money as like we're not huge spenders anymore. We bought the stuff that we need, we feel, for the most part. But is there a benefit, like some type of benefit to having, you know, like a high income, a six-figure income?
All right, to answer your question, I had to pause and restart because of the 30-minute rule, if you know about cameras. To answer your question, you kind of indirectly answered it perfectly yourself. You pay yourself a lot out of the business in order to get the mortgage and to get the car and to get everything you need the high income for. Let's say you were paying yourself $40,000 a year and you want to get a mortgage, they'll never accept you because right now they'll give you a mortgage for 5 times your income. So they'll give you a mortgage for $200,000, which can't even buy you a parking spot in Toronto. So you did it perfectly. You're paying yourself a lot until you got the mortgage and the car. Now you don't need it for anything unless you want to buy more properties. Maybe you want to do it in your business, which is a little more difficult. You have to put like 30% down to get it in a business because it's not an individual and the business can go under. But you don't have to pay yourself a lot right now. You can keep the money in the business until you need it. So the good thing about having a corporation is tax deferral. Businesses pay less tax until you pull the money out, and then it ends up being the same. But what you can do with the cash in the business is invest it on a tax deferred basis. So you just get taxed less until you need the money. So you have to like have a crystal ball and just predict what you want to do with the money. Let's say next year you're like, hey, we want another property. You want to take out $300,000. The tax is going to kill you, but you would have been in the same position regardless.
Because we're taking in advance in a way anyways or something. It's just slowly. So then it's like we technically don't need to be taking so much money. Like, so right now we are individually 6-figure earners. But then I'm like, we're not trying to buy something in Canada. That's a lot. So like, couldn't we like chill for 2 years or something and then raise it later?
Yeah, so you probably have to come back. You probably have to have that higher income over time for that to count.
No, not really. So are you paying yourself a salary or a dividend?
Salary, yeah.
Okay, so the good thing about paying yourself, like let's say at least $65,000 in salary, is that you're maxing out your CPP, which is Canadian Pension Plan. Okay. It's not a lot.
So I can get $500 when my retirement. Sorry. It's okay. Sorry.
The max is $1,000.
Okay.
Which is going up 2% a year, which is not a lot, but it's better than nothing. It's a little bonus you'll get when you retire.
Okay.
At 60, if you want. Like you can choose to get it at 60, or you can wait until 70.
Okay.
I recommend taking it at 60 because what if you don't live to 70? So why not?
You have to officially retire.
No, you just start taking it.
Oh, so you can still work and make money and just start taking the money. Like,
yes. The issue is you get taxed on it because that's income.
They tax you on the money that you contributed and
death
paid
and taxes.
My goodness gracious. Isn't that not ridiculous?
Death and taxes. Like,
what a scam.
Yeah, that's maybe a topic for another video.
No kidding.
all the CERB and all that free money they gave everyone, nothing's free. We have to pay for it somehow. And then you're going to get higher property taxes for this house. And then you're going to get higher everything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good times.
Okay. So just to summarize where we're at, we did the intro, talked about your income, the business, fixing your credit. I do want to go into investments.
Okay.
And it takes us back to Apple. Can you talk to me about Apple?
Yes. What a great place with great products, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Apple, I have to say, they're so good. So good. And I hope this system still exists in the same way that it did when we were there. But so as an Apple employee, you are given like an option to have a certain amount taken off your paycheck every 2 weeks and put into like a fund for you to invest at 15% less than the lowest market rate during a period. So I think do you remember if it was like 6 months?
It was 6 months. I remember.
Okay, well, okay. So like whatever.
Of Apple stocks.
Yeah. So say for example, it's like the stock. I'm just thinking of the prices at the time that we were there. If the stock was like 200, I think it was like 150s, 200s around that time.
Sounds about right.
You got like 15% off of that at the lowest rate. So if it went to 130 at some point in time, you got to 15% off that. So we both entered that. There's a term for it. What's the program? When Craig came, I'm like, yo, you got to get in on this.
Employee stock option plan.
Something like
the bank in Australia had it too.
Yeah. So when Craig came in, I was like, yo, you got to get in on this thing.
I didn't
it's very
want
cool.
to because I knew how little we were making, but Tiff was
Long
already
term.
doing it, so I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
And we did it.
And our friends loved using it because they all use it for really good trips and stuff like that. So like a lot of people would like even like kind of like midway through take some of the money because that stock, like I guess like we were at the time where Apple was also like had most
Really
recently
coming up.
launched the retail stores. The iPhone 4 just came out. So like my first launch was the iPhone 4 within working there in a few months. So like that's when Apple really started becoming globally accessible. So they started doing really well in comparison. So like we had friends that would take stuff off to go on vacation, maybe buy a car. We had some friends buy cars and stuff like that. Vacations was like the biggest thing I would say.
So that's all
was used
very
for.
dumb. I'm going to stop and say that. Like those are kind of retirement plans or stock options. Those are long-term investments. Selling it to go on. I do believe in paying for experiences. I get it. But why don't you save up cash and then pay for the experience there? But it's pretty dumb. But I like what you did.
Okay, yes. So I held strong
To this day.
to this day. So I bought my stocks starting in 2010. And I am still a proud owner of all of them. I don't know if you have specific questions about them, but
Can I show how much they've gone up by or no?
oh, like those like a screen grab?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, because this is a very rare. I'm gonna put an image of, let's say, the stock option chart from 2010 to now for Apple, just so you can see how much you've made.
Yeah.
And also, you've been reinvesting the dividends.
Yes.
Yes. So you told me to do that as well. Really listen in here. I gotta say.
Yeah, you're okay. Great,
Good shoot.
yeah, I
great
listen.
job. I like it. I like it. But you've done something that's extremely rare. I guess you timed it perfectly, but it's also not selling. You've made 17 times your money, so 1,700%, I believe, which is unheard of. Like if you just invested in like the overall stock market, you would have made half of that. So your returns, like the long-term investment, like the buy and hold is the strategy. I told you guys buy and hold for a house.
Yeah.
Like unless you know how to flip houses and renovate, but
We're not doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But buy and hold over the long term is the strategy. The one downside, when you do sell, you're going to pay a lot of tax.
No.
I don't know if we will. We just want to buy.
Yeah. Can we
rent?
If we buy a
Rent it out.
house with it, does that defer the tax if we
Or if you
no?
sell the stocks.
Say we no.
Can you sell the stocks and put the stocks into an investment property?
Because I feel
That's-
like his parents did stuff like that.
That's
like,
that's in Australia and that's in the US. So in
Can we? Sorry, I'm not going to talk
in
about
the
it.
US, you can defer capital gains if you sell an investment and use that same cash within 6 months to buy another one. But here, we have to pay for free healthcare and stuff, so you can't defer. They want their money.
Well,
Socialism,
I
man.
pray that things change, hopefully, in like the 20 years that I decide. I just feel like we should just keep holding it. I consider it our stock. Like Craig sold his portion of the stock because it was like he got it in later and it was lower. Even though we looked at your tier where it would be, and like you'd be in a pretty good tier too if we didn't sell
would
it.
have, but
like,
it was $5
we'd have
grand
like
at the time, and we started the business July 2015. Like went full time. Tiff quit her job, I quit mine, and I used that $5 grand to cover rent because at the time our rent was about a G in Montreal from July 2015 to December. So we knew that if anything messed up in the first 5 months of owning the business, we'd at least have rent covered. And Montreal was like hella cheap. Now not so much, but like you know, bus pass was nothing, and at the time we were doing that, and like food, whatever. So I feel it was well used because 2 weeks after we went full time, we lost the 2 clients.
Yeah, that we thought we were covered for. But, you know, you got to just hustle after that. But one thing I will say, too, the only thing we want to use it for is we thought would be for property or to invest in another business or something like that. So, like, something that feels like in the end, like that investing that $5,000 in high season, we are in a 7-figure business now. So it's like anything that we've done, I felt like has contributed and helped.
Yes.
Like maybe we wouldn't have taken the plunge if we didn't feel like we had that safety net, you know?
I agree.
So then that makes it worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. And like, just like to go back over holding over the long term, Apple's at its all-time high right now. It's worth $3 trillion. a lot of people will comment, if you held from 1980 to now, you'd have been like a billionaire, but no one would have ever held. Because there was, one, people have paper hands and they sell. And two, there was like 8 years where Apple was stagnating and failing without like Steve Jobs. So it wasn't always the money shot. Like Warren Buffett makes like $18 million, I think a quarter off dividends. But when you're worth like 90 billion, like it just seems too good to be true. But the buy and hold strategy instead of constantly flipping is the way to go. And it does pay off. But eventually, you want to use it eventually. Like let's say you're 60, 65. What else are you going to do with it?
That feels fair. That feels fair.
We just wanted to put it into more real estate, maybe not in Canada, but we were looking into that, and I just assumed that.
Okay, if we buy in the U.S., then no, because we're still Canadians.
And
it's an American stock because Apple, because they're American, we all had to pay for GC. I'm just trying to get around taxes. Sorry, I know we're talking a lot. Okay, it's an American stock and it's an American account.
E-trade account, right?
Yeah, because Apple only lets you purchase everything we did had to be American. That. So if we had an American bank account and we transferred that American tax into the American bank account and then bought the property, thoughts?
So I think because you're Canadian and you're paying Canadian tax, that rule doesn't exist.
What if we had the visa, what if we started a corporation in the US and then got a E1 visa to also get around the 30% deposit for foreign nationals trying to buy a property there, then perhaps this would get around that too.
Right, but you'd have to roll the shares into the corporation. So the shares are personal.
Oh,
it's not in the corporation.
But what if, because
and you could do that?
would have a visa though.
There might be a tax penalty because people know you're trying to avoid. Everyone
that's what.
But what if you were buying personal property in the States and you have now a legal residency in the States?
That's a different case, but it probably would take a few years to get to that point.
That's fair. Okay. That's a consideration though. That's interesting. Because I love what you said there. I think twice you've showed that the U.S. is doing something better than us here with the credit card thing you mentioned, or with the credit. Yeah. Like that's a big part. I think that's fantastic. And then being able to put your money into another investment and not pay tax. I feel like that's fair because you're just trying to continue to better yourself and also invest in the country.
It worked for my parents really well. They had this
that's why I loved it because I was just like, I always felt like that was such a smart strategy.
Properties for a while until they just decided to get rid of everything. But it was stocks and then properties and. It was killer. And I thought that was, I don't know why I just assumed, I know it's different countries, but I just assumed logically.
Commonwealth, you know?
Well, not really that.
No, I feel like we do everything backwards here.
No kidding.
Yeah. So we are running a little long. This is my longest podcast so far.
I'm sorry. I knew it was going to be.
Yeah, I know. I do want to end it here, but like I always throw out this question. Is there any financial questions you have that you'd be too embarrassed to ask, but the viewers would want to know? So you're like, hey, I don't want to know this, but maybe someone else.
It's actually funny because the main thing I was wondering, it would be so nice to do another thing where you show us how to avoid taxes. Okay, not avoid, but how like
appropriately and everything above board.
Yes, like tax optimization. You know, right? I feel like that's one area that I feel like I'm lacking in. I like to personally know things as well, in addition to having accountants. The second thing, and I would say that for any business owner watching or any entrepreneur watching, is like the common basic knowledge you should have to make sure that you are like bookkeeping and doing the basics right or something, you know?
It all depends if you're an employee or not. If you're an employee, there is no bookkeeping to do. There's nothing you could do to reduce your taxes. You actually get penalized the worst, the working class. If you're a business owner, there's a lot of things you could do, like the meals and entertainment. If you have a home office, wink, wink.
Yeah.
And if you have a car that you use for business purposes, like some people always try to like deduct their clothing. You can't deduct clothing like almost under any circumstance.
I bought this dress for this thing. Is that not?
Cannot. Because you can use it so much for personal life, but there's certain things like a car you could do like 30%. Because I have a real estate business, I use 30 or 40% business use. There's all like little things like save your receipts. As long as you have the receipt, if you get audited, as long as you could prove it, everything should be fine.
And in worst case, they just take it off?
Yeah, so worst case, you would owe the tax you would owe anyways. You pay what you owe anyways. In Canada, thankfully, there's no big penalties for not paying your taxes. It's like a slap on the hand. In the US, you go to jail.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like celebrities go to jail in the US.
They go to jail there, yeah. But here, it's like a slap on the butt, and they kind of send you on your way.
With like a payment slip. Like you got to pay.
Pretty much, yeah. But there's nothing bad that can happen if you think about it. You owe the tax you would have owed anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe plus some interest. We've had a bunch of things where like...
let's not even talk about the interest. We could do a whole other conversation on how much we're paying in interest too on the
even moving from Quebec to Ontario, that was a whole ordeal that we're still dealing with to this day, and it's 18 months later.
Oh my God.
Still dealing with it, and they still claim asking us for things that we thought the old company was closed, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a whole ordeal.
Interest sucks though. I gotta say, I feel like that's like my biggest thing is like just try to never pay interest. It's just so stupid. It's so nothing. Yeah, it's like such a waste in the end. You know,
it's not really meant to help you. Sometimes leverage can be very powerful, but it's not meant to help you get ahead. It's meant, for the person to give you the debt. You take on the risk. If your business doesn't do well, you owe them the loan. Let's say $100,000 and the interest on top of that.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, but this could be a topic for another video. Maybe in a year's time we'll do a part 2.
Okay.
Oh, pushing us off for a whole year. Wow.
Yes.
Well, things have to change.
I know.
Yeah, things won't change in a year. Who knows? We might be in another house, and we could talk about that one.
I'm excited.
That's the goal.
Yes. All right, so thanks for watching, and tune into the next one.
That was great.
Yeah, that was good.
So
That was a
much
lot.
fun.
That was a lot.
How long did we go?
That was
45 or something?
45, yeah.
Oh, that's fine. Podcasts are supposed to be 3 hours. Have you watched Joe Rogan? Come on.
I know, but these
Come
are all-
on.
Holy shit.
Hopefully people